Now we are live on Facebook and YouTube. I am with my guest for Say It Anyway Sunday. I'm your host, Adam Grabowski, and this is the actor Ashley Platz. Hello, Ashley. You are in Los Angeles. We've gone over this for the people on Instagram.
Yes.
I was going to say actress, but I was like, no, it's actor. Do you have thoughts?
I have lots of thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Depending on the female or female identifying person, it matters. Some people don't care, but I'm a fan of there's no firefightress, so it's actor.
Okay, now I understand your point, because why are we gendering something that like waiter, waitress, actor, actress? There's no real reason for that. I do think firefightress is a kick-ass name, and I want that to be like, as you said it, I was like, you very valid point, but
Firefightress is dope though.
Yeah. Okay. Now, let me check with the people upstairs. Can you hear clearly? I don't know if you know this, but as I moved out of Los Angeles, I thought I was going to be, I'm echoing.
Yes.
Are you hearing my echo?
I am hearing your echo. It's because I can't turn my volume all the way down.
So you can't turn your volume all the way down, so it's coming back through again.
Yes, but let me turn you up on here and mute you on here.
Okay. Okay. So my assistants helped me out.
All right, that should work.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. I see Maddie Horror said a lot of echo. Maddie Horror and I went to college together. Okay.
Well, Maddie, just so you know, I'm only echoing because I'm coming through her thing twice. So I'm gonna put that in. No, it's my fault. I'm the interviewer. Now, it's a wonderful start that we've had with all this audio mix-up. You are somebody that is used to going on auditions in person. Have you had any fun audition mix-ups in self-tape previous to the pandemic or during the pandemic?
I mean, I would say that my auditions are probably 75% self-tape pre-pandemic anyway.
Okay.
My entire pilot season was completely self-tapes. Every pilot I auditioned for was a self-tape. But yeah, so I sort of have like a really comfortable existence doing the auditions on the self-tape world. That's sort of, I mean, obviously you know about the Batwoman thing. Like it's something that I've been actively working at getting really good at. Okay, good.
Where do you usually do it? What kind of background? And is there a go-to outfit for each audition?
Is there a go-to outfit? You know, there probably should be. But it really depends on the character. I probably have like the same 5 things I go to that I don't even realize. And if I were to look back at all of my tapes, I'd be like, I do wear that a lot. I do wear that a lot. More than anything, I've learned how to do my makeup for camera because I'm not really like a big makeup girl. Like that took a long time, even though
You're a big makeup woman. There's a difference.
Yeah, I'm not a big makeup woman. But everyone I grew up with in New Jersey is like all of the makeup. And for me, it was like a little bit of work.
Yes. Now, did you have to work to eliminate any sort of accent from Jersey?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So much work. 2 full semesters of vocal coaching in college, which was great. But I also then moved to Brooklyn. So I picked that up.
You undid everything.
Yeah. And then when I moved here, for the most part, most people can't tell. But if I start to get tired or if I'm having a drink with someone, things sort of slip out. There's definitely words that I cannot say without an accent.
Well, you know I'm going to ask you what those words are. But by the way, people say I have an accent. I don't feel like I do. Although if I say Chicago, they say it, so then I have to be like Chicago.
Chicago.
Yeah, but I feel so snooty. That's like I don't even know how to say mom then, because mom is M-A-H-M, right? Yeah. Mom. Yeah, mom. So I'm just like mom.
M-A.
Mom. Mom one? Is that the proper one? Yes.
Mom.
Hello, Momther.
Mother.
Mother. As you can tell, I've taken many acting classes
Yes, I see
in
that.
my day.
Your
I'm
accent.
so good. I'm good at being myself. I'm not good at being other people. Are you better at being yourself, or are you better at being a character?
Okay, that is a great question.
Or is the character a heightened version of potentially yourself or personality?
I think the thing that made me realize I wanted to be an actor was I was really good at doing impressions. So that sort of is a different side of it. I love doing impressions. And that has gotten me work in the past, but I'd say most of the time what I'm just doing is bringing who I am to what I'm doing.
Okay, that's great.
I guess I'm better at being myself than other people.
I mean, listen, I have tried really hard to be myself over a long period of time, and then really to show that honestly and earnestly. So then when it came to trying to be other people, I was like, oh shit, I'm
not prepared for this as much.
I definitely was on the other side of it. It was really easy for me to escape being myself by becoming other people and acting all the time.
Okay.
And I don't think I really figured out like who I am 100% until probably like 5 years after moving here.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, my other broadcast has completely gone down, so I guess we're on Instagram for right now.
Yeah.
It's Instagram exclusive. Did you notice that?
Oh yeah, look at that. Something weird happened. I mean, I'm still up, but you're not there.
I'm not the one. I connected. I bought. Okay, first off, I'm a little stressed, so I'm gonna have some of this.
That is the biggest kombucha I have ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Are you gonna levitate after you drink that?
What?
Are you gonna levitate after you drink that?
If I have the whole thing, yeah.
Oh
That's
my
why
God.
because you become one with the trilogy.
I would be burping so much if I was drinking that.
You would what?
That would be kombucha, like any like carbonated drink makes me burp like crazy. So that would be like.
As I grabbed this, because you opened a drink right before, and I didn't know what it was, but I was like, I want to have something cool too. So I went, but I'm not gonna pour a cup. I mean, the chances I'm gonna knock a cup over are huge, right?
Fair.
So I just decided, well, I'm gonna grab the whole thing, but now I realize just how much this is gonna make me burp.
Yeah. I had a couple sips and put it away because of that thought.
What did you have? Did you have kombucha?
It's like the Kavita.
Oh, the Kavita.
Yeah. Knock off kombucha. I don't know.
It's like more sugary water than this. Well, you know what? This is one of the most. This is the interview that I was going to be the most excited for, and now I'm having the most technical issues. So I guess it's just on Instagram.
Do you want to take a moment and reset the computer?
No, because it's not internet. So if it comes up, it comes up.
Okay.
If not, then we don't have it, and this is an exclusive for Instagram.
Fair.
All right. So okay, so now it's going to work. Great. There we go.
It still says I'm live. Oh, you're back.
Yeah, that might have been you the whole time.
It was me the whole time.
It was. So I was just gone completely from my own broadcast. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Good. I'm just going to talk to the people in the comments, by the way.
I bought a 30-foot braided Ethernet cord just for this so that I wouldn't lose service connected to Wi-Fi, even though I'm only 15 feet from the Wi-Fi router. Point being, accents are going to come out, okay? I'm going to start getting pissed. It's going to have, I don't have an accent. Do I have I have an accent when I'm pissed.
Yeah. Oh, dude, when I'm angry, which is very rare thanks to yoga, my accent is unbearable.
Now, you are known as the angriest yoga teacher in Los Angeles. And I wanted to get into why you think that berating the students there, because like when it comes to acting, for some reason you're so zen on set, you're always the nicest, easiest person to work with. But when you enter your yoga room, it's judge yourself immediately.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't check in.
Never.
Don't check in with your body or your mind.
No.
Whatever you can do today is not good enough. And I think one of the other things I learned was immediately start with arm balances. So I was supposed to.
That one might be true. That might be true.
In crow pose, walk into the classroom.
Yeah.
And do that. No, Ashley is one of the best instructors out there in terms of knowing what to say, when to say. Sometimes you will get a yoga instructor who talks the entire time, but it's like overkill. And then they're selling you on Scientology while it's happening, or whatever their beliefs are. And it's a little bit much. Okay. But when you do it, I'm already like clenching up my shoulders like this, and then you'll be like, remember, shoulders go down the back, and you don't have to bite your teeth for them to stay there. And I'm like, oh shit, you're right. So that's where I know you mostly from, because I'm not just allowed on your set when you are acting. So I know more.
That's like, I appreciate that comment about my teaching, because I found that my first teachers were teachers who sort of like put the spiritual element in front of me, and they were like, here's this, it's there, we're gonna put it right here, we're gonna do this physical practice, and I'm gonna remind you of this casually, and then at the end you're gonna have your own experience, and if you choose to connect these two things, you can do that. But then I branched out and took all these other classes, and I got into classes that were just like sweat, scream, sweat, loud music, blah. And I was like, oh, what is that? And then I got into the other side of it that was just like, what kind of essential oil do you want today? And I'm going to dab it all over your face. And like, you're going to check in with all of your chakras in one moment. And it was just like too much of the other side. So my whole experience of having it be my choice to be connected spiritually in my yoga practice is what made it so valuable to me.
When you say you're connected spiritually in it, what do you mean by that? How do you define being connected spiritually?
So for me, spirit is your body, right? You have a spirit. You are a spirit. So connect.
Is it separate from the body?
I mean, some people, you can define it all different ways, but for me, spirit and body needed to be in better communication. I was in constant pain. I was like, I had been a track and field athlete for years before I found yoga. And I had scoliosis in my spine. My body was just totally jacked up. I'd moved to LA, was sleeping on a futon, and like couldn't figure out why I was having all this back pain.
That'll kill everybody, because you can do that sort of stuff when you're a kid. Like, it doesn't, like, I don't know how kids in high school or middle school sit in those desks. Like, what were the desks made of? Now, and I'm also a skinny guy, so yeah. So it was just like the hard marbled chairs that you had, and it was like totally okay. I noticed in college, I would fall asleep on the couch a lot, and that's when my back started acting all weird.
What brought me to yoga was that I was just in physical pain, and my first teacher, I was like super reluctant. I didn't want to do yoga. Again, I'm from New Jersey. I was like, yoga's for fucking hippies. Like, I wasn't about it.
So when you came to California, you instantly became Los Angeles. You gave up.
I mean, I bought a Prius, and I was like, here we go with the Kool-Aid. And then like,
sorry, I haven't filled up my tank yet during this pandemic.
And then like 8 months later, I finally I'd been trying to go to yoga for like 4 months, and I was too scared. I was intimidated. I was like, I don't know what this is. This looks like a lot. I don't want to do it. What if I suck? And then I showed up in class, and I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do, and I could do the things that didn't seem important. And the teacher came over to me at one point, and she was like, oh, it looks like you're struggling with some scoliosis and some back pain. Is that true? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, well, why don't you keep coming to class? Come just like twice a week for 2 weeks and see how you feel. And I was like, I don't take challenges very well. I was like, oh, really? Is that I'm gonna come 3 times a week.
Don't buy this program. I'm gonna buy 5 programs. Don't buy this book. I would take 2 dozen.
Yeah, I had no back pain. And I was like, this is crazy.
What's very interesting about that is trying to imagine you not knowing how to do this practice that I learned a lot of from you. Now, if you weren't sure of what happened before, I was being sarcastic, and everything that I said about her classroom, it was pretty much the opposite. So I come into class beating myself up because it's me and it's also Los Angeles. So you're obviously not good enough as a human being, because all the most attractive, rich, interesting, talented human beings are right at the corner. They're actually in front of you in line at the Starbucks, and they'll be loud enough so you know. Like somehow you were near them, and then their Instagram page opened up on your phone, and you had to look at the number of followers. Like without trying. That's how Los Angeles Wi-Fi works.
Pretty much.
I feel like
The Sims with like your followers numbers are over your head. I have 50,000.
Yeah. Remember when Instagram said they were going to get rid of likes, and everyone's like, "That's a great idea," and Instagram's like, "We did it."
Yeah. Huh? They like kind of hid them a little bit for some accounts, not really.
Yeah. And we were all like, "That's a really good idea," and then all of a sudden, advertisers
were like,
and other people like.
But what? Yeah. How do I know if people like me?
That's what I've been dealing with a lot of. Oh, this audio has been not good. So on the other broadcast, right now the Instagram is the exclusive. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, go to my Instagram, because this is way off over here. Thank you for handling this. I need a shavasana for my internet right now.
Should we take 3 deep breaths right now?
Yeah, everyone at home has to do this too. Oh, by the way, Ashley, just so you know, at the end of this, you are allowed to give me a challenge that I have to do this week. Now, I may already know what the challenge is because I might have bought the book that goes along with it. Yeah, you
definitely know what the challenge is. Yeah.
Yeah. But you are allowed to change that or tell me what to do. My last week challenge came from my friend Preston Pugmire, who was a successful touring musician, but when he had his family, decided to stay put and now does life coach things. And there's just a certain level of calm about it. And the thing I was supposed to do was to look in the mirror in an area without my phone and tell myself that I love myself. So that was my challenge for the last week. I think I did it 5 out of the 7 days. Now, I'm not going to say how much I did it or if my eyes were not blurry when I was doing that, but that was my challenge. So as we talk, please think about that. Now, the reason why I wanted to have you on is because you're really easy to talk to and you got a lot of personality, and there's 10 different subject matters that we could discuss, but I know that you have a lot of information that you can impart on people. What is one of the biggest obstacles you see when people come to your classroom when you're teaching that you think that affects the rest of their life as well?
Biggest obstacle I see in people when they come to class that I think affects the rest of their life is that okay, I'm going to go with the first thing that popped into my head, which is...
Yeah, go with it.
So I feel like every yoga teacher has a superpower.
Okay.
And like some teachers have just an ear for like the perfect music. Some teachers know how to sequence that's just like so good you don't even realize it's getting harder. Okay. Some teachers really know how to pull things out of the air in the right moment. And I feel like I have a lot of that, but my main thing is that I'm really good at feeling when people are being assholes to themselves in their heads. Because I am a recovering...
You got it right. Now, I understand that in an interview, there's not supposed to be correct answers. Although in my head, my answer for you was self-judgment. That was the answer that I had.
Definitely self-judgment. And it has a lot to do with like, you know, we're so okay when we're kids with being given a challenge and failing at it. But when we're adults, it like means that we are that failure, or that we can never go back to that place where that failure happened because it means something, when in reality, it's really, you're the only one being affected by those feelings, and it's a choice, right? So very often what I see, especially with like people who have never taken my class before, because my students hear this a lot, is I'll have a room full of people. I'll call out a challenging pose. And then, so you recognize my behavior 95% of the time. Yes. But yeah, because I see it in myself, right, Maddie? But like, we'll bring it down to child's pose after the challenging pose. And I can feel like just disappointment, shame, and like this negative self-talk. And I have this little like line that I say a lot, which is, I'm feeling right now like maybe we're being assholes to ourselves in our head. Yes, I curse in my yoga classes, by the way.
I think assholes allowed on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's allowed on regular network.
And I like to say, I'm sure I've heard this, you've probably heard this before, but I like to repeat it, that please only say things to yourself that you would say to your best friend's face. And like some of us are a little tougher with our best friends and we give tough
I was going to say that depends on.
You wouldn't be like, you're worthless to your best friend.
You've never been a 14-year-old boy, have you, Ashley?
You wouldn't do it now.
No, not now, but I mean, I feel like that's all you say. I feel like that's what all 14-year-old boys say to each other. Like, I'm seeing teenagers now and like preteens that are actually more aware and woke and nice to each other. And I was like, oh, good. I'm glad these are around, because like I'm somebody that's trying to be nice and accepting of other people. And yet younger me was probably calling people gay as a derogatory term. You know what I mean?
I was doing it too. And I identify as queer.
Yeah. But then you could do that then. Do you do that now? So now that you said that that's a part of your identity, you just, oh, okay.
Do you
ever use the term queer to mean odd anymore?
No.
The way that it was used.
I like peculiar much better.
Peculiar is way better. I like that more.
Is so good.
Yeah. No, I mean, I grew up, there were games, literally football games called Smear the Queer. So, but I didn't understand what that meant at all. I was like, okay, is that a spread? Like, I really didn't understand that it was a derogatory term.
Well, if you're not taught it, but you're taught that it's okay to say it, how do you know?
Yeah, I think it's crazy just how like much a generation or even a decade changed what that was. Because like in high school, it was like we knew so many people that were gay. We didn't quite know as many people that were, pansexual or that felt that were bisexual or that were identifying as queer, or that were non-binary, or people that would be.
We didn't. I also feel like we didn't really have vocabulary or language around it that was so widely acceptable.
No, yeah. So we didn't have any of that at all. And then it was like college is when people finally, you're like, oh, they finally came out. Like you'd hear about it. Yeah. You're like, oh, okay, that guy, my friend that we always knew about, they came out finally. According it's so interesting.
My larger extended group of friends, I came out 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm like, no, I've been out. You guys, I just didn't feel the need to broadcast.
I think there may be some people that think I came out, but that was kind of semi-intentional trick, and I could tell you the story.
Yes, please.
From that one, I was in Boys Town in Chicago, and let's say that this gay bar in Boys Town is a bit more on the male stripper side of things. Fun. And I was there with a couple friends, and I saw my first girlfriend ever from high school there. And rather than saying hello, I said, what if I were to extremely flamboyantly tip someone in front of her, not paying any mind, and have her be like, Adam, is that you? And then look flustered and be like, oh, hey. And then she was like, what are you doing here? I was like, what are you doing here? And she's like, it's my friend's birthday. I'm like, I'm celebrating that too. And I'm like, I have to go. And it just looked really suspicious. And then I eventually came back and I was like, hey, no, I'm actually just here with friends. Did you text any friends from high school and say that I'm gay?
Oh, of course.
And she's like, yeah, like 5 people already. I hate you. Now I know why we didn't date. And I was like, well.
I feel like I've said this once, I've said it a million times, but like I have this deep, deep dream that there is no longer a need for coming out and that it's like not a big deal. So if it's sort of
or we can all come out like, even if you're straight, you got to come out.
Yeah. I mean, it's very stressful. If you've ever done it, it's very stressful, and you're
Coming
worried
out as straight?
being rejected. But I have a friend of mine who has a 8-year-old.
Okay.
He came out to her as straight because his friend is gay, and he thought he had to do this, and he was totally traumatized. And she was like, "Oh my God, this is horrendous. My child is traumatized, thinking he needs to like announce his sexuality." When in reality, it's like, what if we just didn't make it such an identifier of like what you are as a person, and it's like who you are in your heart that was more important than like what types of you want to like.
So Los Angeles, like you started Jersey in that beginning conversation, then you're like, what if it's just who you are on the inside, or a balance between mind and body? Like,
Why does it make you uncomfortable?
What?
Does it make you uncomfortable?
No, God, no. I'm all about that. Actually, I was just trying to play a character a little bit. I saw you doing that earlier. I think that is a good way to look at it. I think that people need to be more open-minded about it. You know, I think, I wonder if the instances of like seeing less bisexual men are because it's like less accepted in certain ways, or men aren't as willing to explore it, whereas it's like okay if girls are giggly with each other, or if they stay over in each other's beds, or
I'm going to speak from my experience. I have 2 bisexual male friends, and I can tell you what they've told me. But in my experience, heterosexual men have a fantasy about bisexual women and love to impose that on them. So that makes it socially acceptable.
Right. So it's like this thing that we hope for or hope to see. And
right. And in reality, I like want nothing to do with your weird threesome fantasy. That's a different unicorn bisexual, not me. But
which is an option, by the way, in life and in Los Angeles. I have heard multiple people be like, I'm dating a couple. And I'm like,
polyamorous. And like to be polyamorous is a real thing. And I have a friend who's like really successfully does that. And I could never, but I'm like, tell me all about it. I'm just fascinated by it.
That's the truth that has to come out, though, is it has to be that people have to kind of really acknowledge what it is that they feel. So like, I like that all these options are out there, but I can't lie to myself and say, oh, I want to be gay, or I want to be able to be okay with having a relationship with, 3 or 4 people, in whichever way that the dynamic's working. So I've learned a bit about what I'm okay with and not okay with in terms of a partner doing or showing or being with other people. And you just have to acknowledge it and try to make things a little bit fair, because I think the problem is that, only in LA have I seen people where they've felt bad for wanting monogamy. And I've only seen it a couple times. And I was like, you're still fine. And the rest of the
LA is not a city that most people move to find monogamy. It's like not really have that energy to it. So that makes sense. But I also feel like what I appreciate about living in this time, sans COVID, is that like we are finally being honest with ourselves about what's important to us, the labels we do or don't want, and how we want to live our love lives, and sort of letting the judgment on that soften. There's always going to be that like group of people who just want to throw their like Bible on you or whatever and just like hate you because it makes them uncomfortable.
Which is funny, because that's my kink. It's when they throw their Bible at me. That's my favorite. That's what turns me on the most, is when, that's why people think I come out, because I just do it just because I really love.
Girl loves Bible throwing.
I love going to conversion camps. That's my kink.
That's the thing.
God, I believe, it's funny that I said God there, but I believe that still happens a little bit, which is actually really
it does happen. It's legal
sad.
In the States. But I feel like, I feel like the labels are really helpful in this section of our time, because so many people struggle with being themselves, like we were talking about earlier. Like we have a hard time allowing ourselves to be who we are. And for years, I identified as only bisexual, and that was like something I didn't talk about publicly. It wasn't like it came up with people when it came up, but I wasn't like, it wasn't in my profile. You know what I mean? And it was so much so, even when Maddie, who's on here, Maddie and I knew each other, I identified as bisexual, but I was afraid of saying it because there was so much stigma sexually around what it means to be a bisexual female.
Mm-hmm.
And then it wasn't until
because of all the high fives and chest bumps and
and
congratulations
and it wasn't until I didn't even know what pansexuality was until someone's teenager was like, oh, I came out to my dad as pansexual, and I was in my late 20s like, what?
Yeah, most of the things I've learned are from college students.
That's how I've been feeling my whole life. And like, so I feel like the labels are really important, even though there's a lot of them and they can get really overwhelming. I feel like they're important because like I had a breakthrough when I heard that word. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, that is the thing. That's like even more specific, right? Specific language matters. Like how we talk to each other.
What I would like it to be is like, rather than labels, I wish it would just be like vocabulary. Does that make sense? So the difference in trying to say now we can label everyone more accurately, it's just like we're adding adjectives, we're adding a word that describes it a little better, you know? So it doesn't mean that this is your permanent label. You can have multiple different identifiers, but now, like what type of yogurt is this? And then you're like, it's blueberry.
Yeah,
but we added that.
It's stronger.
Yeah, we understood the flavor. What was very funny is in the comments, we were just saying and joking about labels, you know, being sometimes too much. But then you go, I think labels are helpful in this time. But at the same time, a comment said F labels. Like it was like, it's funny because at the same time we agree. So labels are stupid.
They weren't needed, but they are.
But words are helpful. Yes. In order to identify things. Well, thank you for being open about this. I really appreciate that. This is not why we do an interview. Be like, can you explain to a Midwest audience what a rainbow is? That's not why I had you on here, was to talk about. It was just because you're really easy to talk to, and then every subject matter seems to be more in balance. Now, I'm not going to say that you have everything figured out, but of all the people that I've met from Los Angeles, you saw different phases of me.
I did.
Which I think was, I know everything coming in. I'm a bigger shot than I think I am.
Tell everyone how we met?
Well, Andrew, my friend Andrew, we took a class.
Yeah, he brought you to my yoga class, and then what happened?
Yeah. Let's go with your memory, because maybe your memory may be more accurate, whereas sometimes
you asked me out?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. That's my memory.
Good. Oh, all right. That's very good. You know, that was probably one of the most nervous I've been to ask somebody out.
I was like, so when I'm in teacher mode, that's it. Mm-hmm. So I was like, what do you need? Oh, wait, what? Like I was so like shocked.
Well, you got to understand, I'm coming from an area where I did do some yoga here, but I had an experience like Los Angeles, and then Andrew talked you up. So now you're this friend of Andrew. And then I was like, okay, this is like a very in tune person. So even me that didn't quite understand the personality traits at the time that you look for in a partner or an individual, I was able to see some of that. And then, and don't think that was anything I've ever tried before you or after you with any sort of yoga instructor in a class or anything like that. And after that, I was very much like, well, that was my one time trying. And these are the professionals.
Try. You should always try, but I would encourage you to actually have a full conversation with someone before asking them out.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what came over me. That was one of my most bold moments of attempting something in my time. I believe my brain blocked it out, so I'm glad you were able to remember certain things.
But yeah, and then you bounced around. You came to different studios to take my class.
Yes.
And then
I would go based upon what day of the week or wherever, because I kind of live centrally located.
And there was a time where the Giants and the Packers were playing.
Mm-hmm.
And
remember,
and I lost.
So we made a bet about the Giants versus the Packers. I chose the Packers. You chose the Giants. And
because I used to love football before,
Yep.
racism and slavery, but cool.
Yeah. And one thing I would have to say is that how do you feel about football now? Because I like it was like a fun thing to like joke
That
around
was
about.
the last year that I watched any of the NFL. I just have such a gut reject for the NFL.
Really?
Like I couldn't possibly. I used to like go to games, spend money, buy jerseys, and like the value of putting a player on a field to potentially score a touchdown over like holding them accountable for beating their wife is just like it's not really balanced for me. So I was like, don't need this.
Well, just so you know, their training in, to be good at that sport could also have influenced their violent behavior in the first place. So if it makes you feel any better, it's not even just holding them accountable. It's more that they were even potentially fostering that level of dangerous, aggressive behavior. So
NFL, it's, I don't blame the players for being who they are. They are who they are, but I blame the corporate system that's protecting them and their behavior for sure.
You know what bothers me? I got very anti-NFL, and then last year I fell into it again because it was something I like watching with my parents.
Sure.
And there's something that's like normal and wholesome about that, but the value to which people put on these things right now, like I came to terms with this a while ago that like, okay, a team's going to win or lose. I used to get so upset when the Bulls would lose. Like it mattered to me. In college, it like affected my mood. I let it change.
Oh, I'm still like a diehard Yankees fan. I go to a Yankees game, try to every year, even if that means driving to Anaheim.
I can never get behind the idea of the Yankees because there is no salary cap in baseball. Therefore, you can just purchase the best players, and therefore you should always win. So every year the richest team in baseball doesn't win, it means they're a failure. And I don't want people to think they're failures, but if they have $100 million, I'm okay with it. Now,
dysfunction, it's a collective dysfunction. Yeah, for sure.
Well, the thing about it is like team sports, like people are going to argue with me on this, but I think like football, basketball, soccer are even more team oriented.
I only watch women's soccer because
you watch an American team that wins.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is that I think there's more cohesion in having to be there and being with your team and getting to know them. Whereas it is important in baseball, but honestly, you stand up there by yourself.
Yeah.
You stand on second base by yourself. You're in right field by yourself, and you pitch by yourself. So it's a very individualistic game. So if you can't purchase the best players to then succeed, it seems like a failure on your part. Whereas other sports, they do even out the money. But yeah, I learned how much I used ESPN the same way that like other people will use daytime soap operas. It's a language I can fall asleep to that doesn't really matter. And I don't really. Huh?
Do you watch UFC?
So I watch UFC. My friends used to. I think some of them still do. I don't. I like it more than boxing. I don't like boxing.
Really?
Boxing to me is head punches. It's brain trauma straight up. Now that's what UFC is, but for some reason I have this idea that because you're using more aspects of your body, you can wrestle, you can use different strategies, that it's a more complete level of fighting. So I was like, if you're gonna fight, then let people fight, and not just how long can you sustain brain punch damage. Both are, I don't know the science behind it, but what is more dangerous, to have a 3-minute fight where you get armbarred or you get punched in the head and you're out, or to have sustained 12 rounds of continual skull punches, but they're softened? I don't know which one's better.
Have you ever had a concussion?
I don't believe so. I mean, the joke is not that I remember, but right. I don't believe so. Have you, in those regards?
I've had 3 concussions in my life.
Okay.
One was when I was really young playing soccer, because I was the only girl on the team and I was super competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Co-ed team, but there were like no other girls. Second one was a track and field accident. I got a concussion. And then the third one, fun
When
fact.
the track and field one happened?
I used to be a really competitive high jumper.
Okay.
So run along and jump up over the bar.
Really jump to the side over it.
Yeah. So my senior year, I had like school record. I was like captain, like all of the things. And then two of my best friends were like sitting on the mat where I was trying to practice. And they were like, I bet you can't jump over us. And I was like, you guys aren't even as tall as the bar. And they were like, you won't do it. And like, again, I'm not so great with challenges. So I was like,
got you on here. I said, you won't do this interview.
Yeah.
Girls aren't allowed.
Yeah. Sad for you. So I did it. I ran up and I jumped and I got really good height for my hips, but my legs were dragging. And I realized pretty quickly that my cleat was going to
hit someone.
So instead I pulled my knee in really fast and literally kneed myself in the nose and sent cartilage up into my brain. So my nose has been broken twice.
Have you fixed it?
No. Well, when I fell, I came down, I rolled off the back of the mat and I grabbed my nose and I pulled it back down. I just yanked it and blood went in. But apparently I reset it. Yeah,
it does look straight. I've had to fix mine.
Really? How'd you break it?
I was trying to help someone not get beat up, and then no, here's the story. I actually talked out of it. I talked the people out of it. It was a friend's friend visiting in college, and I didn't like the guy. Okay, he was an asshole always, but he was my friend's friend.
Sure, we all have those.
Yeah, and he went to my high school, so I knew of him. And then my friend, he kind of got my friend very drunk, so then I had to carry him home. And at the time, my friend weighed 250. So me and a friend carried 250 of dead weight. It was the heaviest thing ever because there wasn't any help with it.
Right.
And then I went to go round his friends up. I call that weekend a series of unfortunate events is what I call that, because I played babysitter for everybody.
Yeah.
But what happened was this person was at a house party, got thrown out, and then ran back up the steps and charged in. Okay, so he gets thrown out. So his idea is like, I'm going to charge in. So he ended up knocking over a girl and some lamps and stuff. So now he gets thrown out, but by 5 people, and he falls down the steps. And it's kind of like those, you have the steps up to a door, and then it kind of curves to the driveway, and then there's bushes right at the curve. So he had fallen down the steps into the bush. And like, they're going to come down and do something. And I talk him out of it. I'm like, hey, don't do anything. It's fine. Like, he's really drunk. I'll get him out of here. Like, I talk him out of it. And I lean over and I'm like, let's get the hell out of here. And like, I lean over and he's not able to attend to what's happening. And then he punches me in the face. So helping someone and preventing a fight is actually how the nose broke. And I got it fixed a couple of years ago. About 2 years ago, I got it fixed, and now I can breathe through both nostrils, which changes everything. But you did set yours. Like mine, I had one nostril. So even doing yoga or breathing in through my nose, it was just one.
I did it twice. It's crazy. The second time was surfing. Because I had moved to LA and I was like, I need to buy a surfboard because I live in LA now.
Girls don't surf. You can't do it. And then you did it.
I'm a terrible surfer.
Surfing is incredibly hard. If anybody thinks you can surf because you can skateboard or because you can snowboard, maybe you can. Maybe you're Shaun White. But
surfing is easier to me than snowboarding, though. I'm like terrible at snowboarding.
I'm better at snowboarding than, and before I exploded my Achilles, I went snowboarding in Colorado. I was able to do that and I was fine, no injuries. And I was going through the trees. But then basketball, I just tried jumping at the age of 32 and my Achilles explodes. So there's that for you. This is I like the trading of these injuries. Now, did playing sports turn you queer? That's how it works, right?
Yeah. You have to play softball. Oh, I didn't play softball.
Oh, well then you're not, I mean, can you really identify then?
Play basketball.
By the way, one of my good friends is married, and she's married to a woman. And when she first came out as bisexual. She tried telling me a couple like lesbian jokes, but I didn't get them. Like I was so not aware. She's like, "What do lesbians bring on a second date?" And I was like, "What?" And she said, "A U-Haul." I'm like, "Cause they like moving stuff."
Yeah.
And then she's like, "No," and I was like, "Cause they like furniture."
Yeah.
She's like, "Closer," and I was like, "I'll figure it out."
Because they
Like,
want to go antiquing a lot.
no, that would be at least I was on like the trail end of it, but mine was just off. I was like, because they are very helpful. Like it's time for you to move, they're gonna help.
Yeah.
I get it. Now I understand the joke. Oh,
I will
women
tell
are
you,
weak committal beings.
queer culture has its own vocabulary and shorthand and language that so often like goes right over my head, or like I'll be talking to a queer person and I'll be like, how do you not know what I'm saying? Like everybody has different levels of involvement. I feel like it's the same for like just everyone in general with their involvement in like slang and what's trendy to say, like keep it 100, like whatever the thing is, to be like, what does that mean? Like,
so I some of the language I think is even harder for younger people because in terms of having to know it, because I think there's like this understanding that you should already know.
Yeah.
Whereas with like a little bit older or anyone in their later 20s or 30s, it's not like known that you should know every term. Like I was watching, there's a YouTube channel called ContraPoints, and it's really good. I'm remembering her name, Natalie Wynn. She does awesome pieces that take like, it'll be like 40 minutes on shame or on men or Jordan Peterson or on capitalism, but it's all really well thought out. It's like extremely well thought out and educational. But on a couple of the videos that we're talking about coming out as transgender, but as a lesbian as well. So she's the point is that she was talking about the hierarchy of things even within that community that I wasn't quite aware of. So it's kind of like, well, if you're a gay man or you're a transgender individual, but if you're a transgender lesbian, and I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting.
There's something called bi erasure, like erasure. So in the LGBTQ plus community, bisexuals are almost always seen as like lower than or in between, right? We're not seen as our
way
thing. Yeah, we're like either going through a thing and we'll go back to heteronormality, or we're like just on a pit stop to lesbian or gay. Mm-hmm. And like that's such old, ridiculous nonsense. But it's still, I would say that I have a very small group of queer friends who are much closer to me actively when I date females, and they sort of distance themselves when I date men.
Interesting.
It's very interesting. And it's taught me a lot about, first of all, who your real friends are, and the hierarchy of the queerness, right, within the queer community. It's so bizarre, but it totally exists. It's the same, like a friend of mine explained this to me about how people used to feel, and probably still do feel, I don't know, I can't speak to it, about how dark your skin is. If you're a light-skinned Black person, you're seen as like, oh, better. If you're darker skinned, it's like, it's the same. Every little sub-community has their own weird hierarchy of like nonsense.
What's interesting is that there's like a little indicator in my mind, even while we're talking about it, to be like, what about people that aren't well versed or think that everybody out there is super judgy of themselves? So maybe, maybe things don't get talked about as much because there does have to be a cohesion of, we're still trying to have equal say, equal rights, equal understanding out there. So I also get that point when people may not like when another person is discussing the issues within the community.
Well, and there's racism in the queer culture.
I mean, listen, Boys Town in Chicago very much, Chicago became very much white Boys Town for a while, or not completely, but there's a huge level of like gentrification in Boys Town itself in Chicago. I remember I went out one of the times when it was like a Pride Fest time period, and we went into this bar, but because there was a cover, I remember every single dude was white. Every single dude in the entire place was white. Now, it could have just been a coincidence of the time period right there. It could have been a coincidence of the prices, which I think it had to do with that. It had to do with the pricing to get in or how much a drink cost, which I didn't get a drink there because it was like, okay, 2 drinks, $34. And you're like, oh, okay, I don't know. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
So that's
All
very interesting.
Subscriptions.
What?
That's like all of my TV subscriptions, $34 for the month.
Oh, yes. So what do you subscribe to, Miss Person who's been on TV? We could talk about your job thing that you've done and doing. I don't know. Does acting exist anymore? I mean, does my career exist? Look at me. I'm drinking straight from the bottle.
Very slowly moving. Definitely for different tiers of actors, things are moving at different paces, but it is still a thing that is happening slowly but surely.
The thing that's always gotten me the most about acting is that I think makes it difficult and makes it so it's not for me is like, I think about casting and maybe you see 50 people, but you're going to pick one. That's a 2% success rate and a 98% everyone's not good enough. Now, it's not how you're supposed to view it as somebody that's going out there, but sometimes it's hard not to. Do you find that to be hard not to do?
I guess I don't particularly think about it in that way because I'm not trying to win acting.
Okay.
I feel like I just love doing it so much. So for me, every time I get an opportunity to do it, whether it means it's going to land me a job or just get me an awesome relationship with the person who's trying to give me a job,
Okay.
Or sometimes you walk in the room and you think you're killing it, and like you walk out and you're like, I just took a giant dump on the floor of that room. Okay, that's not going anywhere. But for me, it's something that I've wanted to do my whole life and have only been able to do in bits and spurts due to the fact that most actors can't act by themselves. And very rarely do you get the opportunity to be on set and get to do the whole thing. So when so any opportunity to do that, it just gets me excited more than like, oh, well, I'm up against, do you know what I mean?
I'm worrying about the rejection or the other
I think a lot of that has to do
That's good.
with, you know, some years I'll audition for 50 things and I will book one. Mm-hmm. And some years I'll audition for 50 things and I'll book 10. And it's like, so it just depends on a lot of things. I would say recently why I feel like my success has like sort of rocket launched itself up is because not only am I crystal clear about who I am and the parts that I want,
okay,
the people who work for me are also crystal clear about what that is. So it's very easy for us to be like, maybe she's not, like, I'm not going to go out for like the lead guy's girlfriend. That's not really the part. Okay. There's girls who will do that and like are that like Midwestern safe sort of thing. Like I would probably go out for the girl that he runs into at a bar that might cause problems for his marriage.
Okay.
That's a little more my casting. But
so have you been able to modify what it is then you go out for? Because I didn't do much acting. Okay. I went on some auditions in Chicago and I was put under the funny category. So parts that were written for chubby, awkward is what I would get. So literally it's something like a literal fat joke. And I'm like, how am I going to play this off? Like, this has nothing to do with that. Or like, I'm in the middle where it's like, I'm not leading level attractive, but I'm not like humorous sidekick, not good looking. So I was put in like these, like I would literally audition and like, I remember I read through more than what they just wanted us to read, and 5 jokes were about either how ugly or fat the person was, and I was like, "This you can't just put me in funny category."
Anymore, thankfully. Okay. But there was a time when that was like really hard. I mean, if I had $1 for every like hooker, prostitute, stripper that I auditioned for, Oh my God, so many. And like my reps and I have
Funny that you said if I had $1 for it, because like
that unless there's like some complicated, interesting story behind it, it's just not interesting to me.
yeah, and I think that's also used as a plot device a lot more than it is to look at the intricacies of what that actually is.
It's usually written
talking about pandemic.
A boy who's like has a fantasy but has never actually talked to a stripper.
Like, no, yeah, that's what's always interesting about it too.
Always,
I don't know.
Always,
I really think that there should be more delving into that industry in life. I mean, when you think about how I think everyone in the world has an OnlyFans account now. So I was gonna start an OnlyFans account for comedy and just like or memes, like and make it seem like it's gonna be something, and then you pay for the subscription, and then it's just funny memes. So I think that'd be pretty good. And for those of you that don't know what OnlyFans is, don't look it up. You don't have to. It's basically you pay for a subscription to see people's like nudes or individual porn videos. But I do think that a lot.
WikiFeet.
Huh?
You could just go to WikiFeet. Do you know about that website?
Is that where like I remember listening to an improviser talking about how there's way too many Google searches for her feet. And she's like, what is this about? Like, do they like my comedy? And I'm like, I guess they like me, but they also like my feet in general.
If Maddie's still on here, my friend Lauren from college had just seen, I want to say it was my episode of Grey's Anatomy, and we were chatting back and forth about the episode. And she goes, by the way, your wiki feet is massive. And I was like, what are you talking about? And so link. And basically what it is some people or somebody will find photos of you and photos of your feet. Like if you took a photo standing on a beach, they would zoom in, and if they can see you, they would put that photo in the file. And I have like 100 photos on there because any yoga pose, I'm barefoot.
Now, can we use these WikiFeet people as contact tracers for people with COVID?
Oh my!
Because I feel like if COVID was only passed via feet, we'd be able to have like a database, community documentation. People would take it.
Yesterday that said, "Can farts spread COVID-19?" And I was like, "Here we go."
Yahoo Answers. I think we should say yeah, and then people should just avoid them in general. I think that would be the nicer way to do that. Just so you know, Instagram has a limit, so it's going to sign off for a second, and then we're just going to sign right back on. So in 40 seconds when it goes out, just don't be alarmed that I'm trying to cancel on you. Now, I was going to ask about that. I feel as though, because I lived in LA for a bit, I feel like a lot of people, it's expensive there, and a lot of people use delivery service jobs or service industry jobs or other sort of careers to supplement acting, because you, like you said, you don't know when the things will come through.
Sure.
What has that community been like, and what's the feel that you've noticed there? Is there a lot of unrest? No, this is going to cancel. Oops.
Wait.
So
you have to.
No, we're still live on the other one. We're still live on the other one.
I can hear you.
You can hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone can still hear us though on the YouTube,
YouTube
and other things. Oh, it's allowing me to post this. Okay.
Hooray.
I'm gonna post it and then hopefully go back and edit it. Can I put your name in here? So you can answer the question twice.
I feel like the biggest thing that's going on with the actors who are no longer able to act during COVID is a lot of like loss of purpose.
Okay.
For me, my dad's listening on Facebook. Hi, Dad.
Your dad is. That's great. Wait. Let me pause your answer. I'm back on the live. Can you click on Instagram?
We'll do both.
Yeah.
Hi. Hello.
Hello, live people.
Yeah.
We're back. They just updated the Instagram thing, so now this goes on to IGTV instead of just in your story.
Oh, so much better.
Yeah. That is so much better. So what is the feel that you've gotten from
Okay.
actors in Los Angeles. Actors, actresses, actressos,
Acting people.
actors. Is that the male version?
I would say that, yeah. So I feel like the actors' collective feeling, in my experience, is that we are feeling a little bit of a loss of purpose. We all, a lot of people moved here from different places with this dream in their hearts, and they really wanted to be able to be raw and vulnerable and express these stories to each other. And now some people are quarantining alone. Some people are quarantining with people who are not actors. And, we're resorting to things like this and like Zoom to connect with other actors. And it's not quite the same, but it's better than nothing. And
it is better than nothing. I'll put it at that.
There's definitely a loss of, and I feel like this is true not only with actors, but with people who really are invested in their jobs, that your purpose sort of feels tainted or stopped or paused. And it's sort of like, okay, well, that will come back at some point. But in the meantime, how can I fill this void, right? And this is where it gets a little dangerous, because it's like, am I filling it with like posting a million times a day on Instagram? Am I filling it with alcohol? Am I filling it with like bad behavior that really has been dangerous for me in the past? Am I eating too much? Am I not eating enough? Like, what's going on in the neurological experience of that loss?
What's interesting is, for me personally, I'm eating super clean. I don't really drink, because the times I drank were like I was at a bar and I wanted to have something in my hand. It was a lot more of, I'm not staying out late. I'm not traveling super far. I'm not eating out. So in a lot of regards, things got healthier for me. But in terms of how is my mind doing?
Yeah.
So I'm like physically healthier, but my mind has not been healthier. I'm right there with those actors. And here's the reason what makes me so afraid is I don't know when it'll come back. And if things come back, will it be the same? Now, my industry is a little different. I think acting and videos aren't going away. If anything, we've learned.
It's going to be really, have you seen some of you've seen SNL with this weird, sort of zooming in and recording, and is that what it's going to be? And do I want to do that? You know what I mean? It's something to consider.
Well, what I've learned is that videos are going to be the direction even more. If you like being in front of a camera, this quarantine has solidified, oh, damn, that's what matters. Like, if you look at skyrocketing rates that people have watched stuff on Netflix or Hulu or on other TV, those things have gone through the roof if it comes to YouTube and other stuff like that.
It's true. I've gotten more comments about my Glow episode since COVID than when it actually
came out.
Yeah. Goes, oh my God, is that you? And I'm like, yeah, no, that was August. I don't know.
Yeah. And it's this backlog of stuff. Part of what I've been struggling with is this idea that I had all these years of performances and experiences, but they're not recorded. And I know that shouldn't matter, but because they're not recorded, I'm kind of stuck here. People that have been doing things in terms of putting them up in video format on YouTube, or because they're working on a show, they can always point backwards to it and it's there. And some of my sadness is coming from the fact that I don't have that large plethora of things, but that's also because I didn't make that a priority because I was doing it.
Your shows are so much more about emotional connection to your audience as you make jokes and be humorous.
It's alive.
I think, I feel like, is that also part of what you're mourning? Is that that's not how?
100%. I had purpose, baby. I had a job, money coming in, and purpose, and now it's been waning. And I can't just say it's because of COVID. Things have been waning just because people are like, why would I book a comedian? I'm just going to go on Netflix. It really is a thing that happens. Or why would I, it used to be with music, it was always like this. If you're a musician, I want to know your work or I'm not going to see you. Okay. So I've seen a lot of people that it's like nobody cares about you as a musician or you're famous. Like those are the two levels. Now I know a lot of people that make a good living at it or have, but it's just very difficult. Now, but when it came to comedy and stuff, people are like, oh, I'd love to see a comedian. I'd love to see a magician.
Yeah.
But now it more than ever in the last 3 years for sure, it's like, well, do I follow them already? And that was a question they didn't used to ask. People didn't used to ask. They used to be a lot more open, like, no, I'm gonna go see a comedian. He's on this stage, or they booked him, so he's good, right? Or they will be good. And I still have a lot of that I get, a lot of, what's so interesting is most of my audiences don't know me. And I'm not actually used to or know what it's like to have an audience that knows a ton of my material and then goes to see me. That's like fun, new, and interesting. So that's one thing that having an internet following can do for you. But in my mind, it's really been this idea. I feel like I've been betting on the wrong horse, which was live performances, live interaction, present in the moment. And now that doesn't really exist in terms of the way it used to.
I see what you're saying about not being able to like go to the people who make the decisions and be like, look at this thing I did back here. But I also feel like on the other side of that the shows that you've done and the connections you've made have been more valuable than me watching a video of someone I don't know and haven't had a connection with. So yeah, this is definitely, right now the new normal is this. This is the new normal. And what will this turn into will be the next new normal. And we don't know what that looks like, but it's probably not going to be like large gatherings of people for a year plus.
You know what I like not seeing? I like not having to see my face. I knew they were seeing my face, but I didn't have to see exactly how I looked the entire time.
Yeah.
I realized I smile more. I react more differently. Like we used to we used to just interact with people and then read their expression as a way. I was either listening to something or watching a video, and they were discussing some people that were native to an area that didn't know about reflections and how they interacted when they were given like a mirror. And it was like automatic, like cringe, like shame of like, that's what I look like? Like this self-awareness. And I very much worry about that because not just for people like us, but kids, from an early age know what Snapchat filters are and they know how to use them. So how much of their identity is like, oh, I'm making a video, I'm taking a picture, I'm doing that. So I worry that we're doing a lot of looking at ourselves rather than looking at people. Like when I'm on stage, the part I like is I'm looking at people, I'm not.
I mean, wouldn't it be nice if the looking at ourselves was looking at like, where am I able to improve? And like, not just like, not physically, but like emotionally, like what could I work on? Like what is happening with my mental health right now? And what do I need? And what do I know about myself to prevent myself from going down a darker path?
Well, I have some answers that I try to give out all the time, but then I go against them, which is like, hey, don't be on social media. Don't be near your phone. Don't do that. And then I'm like, oh, but without my phone or social media or interaction, I have no career. I have no purpose. What is my being? And that's where I'm at a lot of the time. So this is why people should definitely make sure they do yoga, because it kind of gets you out of your own head a little bit and forces you to be present in your body. That is something that I think is necessary. And honestly, it's true. We don't exist without our physical body. So maintenance of that is important. And it really should be the number one most important. Like I find days when if I don't do any sort of exercise or sunshine or practice, then, I mean, hopefully I was doing other stuff that I deemed important, but like how much do we deem important all the time that really doesn't do anything?
Oh yeah.
That's the thing that's been getting me is like, there's so much we worry about because we live in a system that's based upon capitalist money, and we want to.
We value production more than we value mental health. right? So we see that like, how much did you do today is more important than how you feel. And it's like, well, is it? Because if I actually feel really healthy and really great, I'm probably going to make a better choice. And that choice may not look like as much production, but the small production I do is probably way better, higher quality, and more valuable to me than the shit I threw out while I was frantic and just like my mind.
Part of it is like the thing that I liked the most was when I was touring heavy was like, hey, I'm bringing you this thing I've crafted for a long time. Like, you don't know that I've done this a bunch of times, but now I kind of feel like the moment I come up with an idea, send it to Twitter, put it on Instagram, and do I develop the idea more, or does it end there, or do I have to share it right away? But there's not, you know, I can't deny this. Some of the people that have the best careers or that get the most work or collaboration or following or make money produce. And that's the thing that bothers me. And it's like, it's not just with performer people. It's like that with anybody working any job. I mean, think about the number of people that work in sales. Like, have you ever worked in sales in your life? Did you do anything?
I've done retail sales.
Oh, you have? Okay.
I worked at Abercrombie and Fitch at the South Street Seaport.
I could see you doing that. Now, what I heard about the Abercrombie and Fitch grind was that the clothing was super expensive, but they would give you a discount if you worked there. But if you worked there, you had to wear their clothing. So you kind of worked there just to buy their clothing.
Yes. And they hired me with like, I had all these piercings in my ear. My hair was blonde with like hot pink on the end. And I had tattoos on the back of my skull. And they were like, you can't wear all those earrings and you can't have dyed hair and you can't show tattoos. I was like, they went up to me on the street and they were like, we want you to work for us, because they were like, blonde girl. So
it could be blonde girl, but yeah, I mean, some of the people were hired because they're like, that was their business model. They're like,
they hired pretty people to sell
yeah, like teenage boys to be shirtless out in front of. I mean, has anything really changed though?
Fierce cologne on anyone, I literally gag.
They pump that into those places. Now, I didn't own much Abercrombie stuff, but I've been into one.
Yes,
you know, enough.
I have to be picky about highlights and wearing certain makeup. It's true. I quit that job the day the manager tried to fire me.
Okay, all right.
We're both like, this is not working.
That's a good way to put it. Now, you just said you were blonde. Was that your original color?
Yeah.
Or were you blonde by choice?
I'm a dirty blonde. I have like really streaky natural blonde hair. This is all. My hair is wet right now, but this is a dye job.
Okay.
For sure.
We discussed this before the interview started, and I didn't know that about you, but you said that people treated you different once you dyed it.
Yes. I mean, I dyed it specifically for casting purposes because this is my real voice, and my voice has a lot of depth and gravity to it. And when I was 21, I sounded the same, and people were like, she probably smokes cigarettes. And I was like, no, this is just what I sound like. But so, you know, young me with this voice and blonde hair, people were like, well, she can't play dumb blonde unless like I pitched my voice. And there are girls here in LA who just do that without effort. So like they should have those jobs.
Okay.
I don't have to work that hard. And they're always going to book those jobs before me because they just walk in with that like
with that look in their field.
So when I darkened my hair, much to everyone in my family's disappointment, I started booking because finally like my energy and my voice and my hair all sort of said the same story.
That's so interesting. And when we talked about this a little bit before the interview, I was laughing about it because I was like, who likes blondes? I mean, not that blonde people are not in the category, but I was like, I don't know. I dated someone despite the fact that they were blonde.
I like blonde women, but
no, I mean, yeah, it's not a selling point for me. Like I like what people are. So I like different, whatever anybody is. So I usually like natural, so whatever people are or look natural with. But my point being is that I guess that cliche is still around. I've like forgotten about it so much. I think, you know, some people.
about it as much because it's definitely like way too offensive, but I feel like
that used to be all the jokes.
Microaggressions about that exist for sure still, because I was bartending when I did it. And I was telling you before we started that I had been after a promotion and a raise for like months, probably like 6 months at this job I worked at. And they wouldn't take me seriously. And then all that changed one day was I dyed my hair brown, and God, maybe like, I'm not even kidding you, 3 weeks later, I went through the same thing I'd been going through. And they were like, you know, I feel like you've really stepped it up in the last 3 weeks. Like you're really being more serious and taking this more serious. And I was like, get the out of here. All I did was dye my hair brown.
What if you walked in as a man? What would have happened then?
Oh my God, I would have been like handed
the owner. Yeah. Here's a restaurant.
Yeah.
Also, here's an intern to harass.
Yeah.
It's a 2-for-1 there.
So true.
Somebody made a good comment. You know what they say? Blondes have more blonde hair.
That is true.
One. I've had to, like, there's a reason I used to look at the YouTube and the Facebook one instead of the Instagram one, because I try to, the comments sometimes get me. Like some people are really funny in the comments. Like when I watch Instagram Live, do you ever watch any? Have you, like, I'll look at some friend stuff.
I go on very rarely. I'm actually, I post on, oh my God, I should have been Batwoman. Thank you so much for saying that. I definitely read the comments, especially when it's like, yeah, I do feel like people say some of the funniest stuff in that little comment section. And what makes me crazy is watching two people like us having a conversation and something awesome go by and them not see it. I'm like, you guys.
I know.
Not just for you. It's for these people. So like they're saying funny shit and that could have been a moment and you missed it.
Yeah, but then how are you able to stay in the moment if you're trying to constantly read what they're saying? So like it's a soft heckle is what live performances have become. A soft heckle.
Oh.
So it's like the comments you would make to your friend during a comedy show or a movie that's extra funny to you.
A gentle heckle
is now visible for every performer person. And that's the thing that still throws me off, because I'm a very interactive person. So if people said stuff back and forth to me, I'm going to respond to it and I'll hear it. But when it comes to this, so I actually have a show right after this I'm doing on Zoom. I'm doing a Zoom show after this, but that one's good because you can hear the people.
Yeah.
So there's no like, let me keep typing. Yeah, I've done multiple shows that way.
And anybody can just like log in and like tip you and whatever. And
so a lot of what I have done has been private college shows. So they have been booked by and paid for by the university, and it's open to their students. And sometimes my friends join in. But and then I give away shirts and some other prize stuff at the end. Point being is that yes, people can comment, but it's good to hear voices. It's good to hear voices. I'll set it up on gallery view and see everybody.
Yeah,
I'll see the people. Now that's a little bit harder because in person, people know that they're being viewed and they'll smile and laugh. But on Zoom, they either don't know that they're being viewed, or they don't care, or they're on the toilet.
Zoom mishaps yet?
I learned very early that you should flounder or address heckling right away. So I did one where I kind of started awkwardly, and like a guy started heckling and be like, "You got to learn how to handle it, bro." And then like he literally farted into the phone at one point. No joke. He did. And then we booted him from the Zoom. And then I said, now are we ready to start? I wanted to get rid of those people. And then we clapped and started over again. I learned like, maybe it's worthwhile to flounder a bit to let the hecklers show themselves, and then you could kick them out.
That's a great idea.
So kind of putting chum in the water to see where the sharks are, and then be like, all right, we're going to go over here now.
It doesn't really work for me for yoga teaching on Zoom.
I think people keep their mics on silent.
Sometimes. I have had one Zoom mishap while teaching where a student's partner didn't realize that they were like had their camera on, and they walked through the bedroom naked in the background, and I was just like, Oh, no, like, I don't know. I went like this, like this will help.
Okay.
You know.
I think, was it not pleasant to view?
Me.
Or did they just not know?
We were about to start, so the chances of anyone else seeing are pretty slim.
How do you, okay, so when you're somebody that's naked, I feel like my senses are heightened.
But you're in your house.
I know, but when you're in your house, I feel like you're kind of, I think it's on both people. I think it's on the part of the person, though.
Time, and I am forever, I'm going to go to this, I'm sliding this thing over my camera to be like, I have a little like camera cover on my laptop, and I'm like, just in case.
Yeah, you're going to cover it up.
Just in case.
Yeah, that's why it gets closed. What I think, okay, now we're going to have a conversation about this. Who is that more on the problem of? Is it on the person walking naked in the house because they see their partner getting ready to do that?
It's communication, but if you're putting a camera on, even like right now, if my roommate was here and not in Canada, good for her.
Yeah.
If she was like just walking around naked, like before this would start, I'd be like, hey girl, I'm going to do this thing down here. I have cameras live on my face. Don't
And then she goes, what? What'd you say? Let me walk down naked to find out.
100% on me.
Maybe, I'm guessing the person knew though. They're like, you know what? This is a way that I could subtly show it off.
Not only did they not know, but their partner who was taking my yoga class didn't even realize it happened. And I was
behind.
Alone in this experience of like,
well, what do you do? Do you call out?
New York, just accidentally seeing a stranger's penis.
So I've seen some things from my audience, and I somehow knew it was a guy because of the way in which you were like, I don't want to see that. Maybe there's just an implication that we're not as pretty to look at when we're just flopping, but which I kind of agree with, whatever. But point being, oh no, I totally lost what I was gonna say. I've definitely seen some stuff from the stage that that I've had to avoid.
Yeah.
But that's out of respect for the show to keep going. Although it is easy, I can call it out if I want to. But I could call it out, and I can make it fun. In your instance, you couldn't because you're not going to break their flow or their focus. So
more than anything, if I called it out, it would be then all of the other people on Zoom would be like, let me put it on gallery view and see what you're talking about. And I'd be like, no, let's not.
That's a way to get me involved and feel like I'm a part of a community. I'm just saying.
My God. There are so many better ways to have my community feel like they're a community. I'll say though, that is the best part about teaching Zoom yoga from my house is getting to see the faces of students. Some who I've never met before in person, who are just like, oh, this is like, if you were to send me someone that I don't know, they're taking my class. Like I have a lot of like word of mouth people taking my class who I've never met in person, but the majority are people I've been teaching for like, God, upwards of like 7 years.
Okay.
Which is crazy. So that is really rewarding to see those people almost every day and also know their practice so well and see them still have breakthroughs, even like virtual teaching.
So that's something that is nice about becoming a part of a community for sure, or to be an instructor. So I'm glad that you have that. I'm glad that they have you. I was going to say it's got to be interesting to see them in their natural habitat more than coming into your room. And now you can see names.
Children, like...
Now you can see names. Like you couldn't see, my audiences weren't labeled before. Like you've met people, but like people didn't have, like Dylan Krasitsky underneath their cells. So
it's really helpful because I was teaching so much before this that I'd be like, oh, you're the like left shoulder girdle thing, right? Like, I don't know Kelly.
You don't know them by name, you know them by look, or when they have that mat that's kind of weird or rowdy or...
person with the cool mat. Yep, you got those awesome pants. You're the
Ninja Turtle yoga towel.
Yeah, there was a guy that came to my class for like 6 months straight, and I haven't seen him since. Tall, skinny dude. I could never remember his name, but he had 8 different tattoos all over his body of pizza slices.
So he could have just had one pizza tattoo, but he decided to break it up.
The pizza here, and like one on his calf, and like one on his back, and he was just like covered in pizza.
Now, did you think of that because I said Ninja Turtle yoga towel?
I did.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's good branding by the Turtles. I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing back in the 90s, they definitely had a pizza sponsorship, but the fact that there isn't a little, like instead of Little Caesars, it's not Michelangelo's is baffling to me.
I feel like Maddie Horror, who is listening to this right now. Maddie, do you remember if there was sponsor? There had to have been sponsor, like Pizza Hut or something for the Ninja Turtles.
I don't know though. It's not coming. It didn't stick enough for me to remember it, but maybe I still wanted to eat that specific pizza because the Ninja Turtles had it.
Maybe they didn't even need to because people were just like, pizza, who cares?
Yeah, it advertises itself.
I don't remember.
Although I have felt better since not eating pizza. I wanted to bring up a story of when I was on stage. There was this guy, and I ignored it because I knew that he had Tourette's and that he wasn't meaning to be interrupting, right? So for the entire time, I didn't talk about, I didn't reference it, I didn't bring it up, and the person was getting up and moving or talking or, some vulgarities came out. Totally fine. But at one point, I didn't realize this. I was doing a joke where I was making fun of slang terms for sex and just like how they don't make sense. If it was like slay the dragon or boinking or whatever people use, plowing, and I'm like, but it sounds like you're planting seeds and I don't want to raise the crops, whatever it was. I'd make a little joke on it. I was like, do you guys want to do a joke where you shout inappropriate things at me? And he stood up and yelled, yes, that's what I've wanted this whole time. And I was like, all right. Yeah. And I just put that together and people didn't really understand what was happening.
Oh my
God.
I
was like,
awesome.
That was very enjoyable to have.
We were saying Domino's. Domino's was in the movie.
Domino's was in the movie. I guess, yeah, I don't remember if they then did a lot of sponsorships with Domino's.
Like, we didn't have any Domino's pizza ever in my house. We were like, I was raised in Jersey, so you could just go to the corner and get incredible pizza. So it was pretty rare that we went to like a chain. But if we did, it was Pizza Hut because I was all about that stuffed crust.
So my dad was, my parents go too far above and beyond. We liked Chuck E. Cheese pizza. So they would go there to get it. And my dad would come back with 250 tickets because he would win the skee ball every time. So he'd come back with tickets and pizza.
That's
because
awesome. I love
we were too bougie to go.
We'd go play at Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah, because we didn't want to go there the whole time. We just wanted the pizza.
Yeah.
Or because we were going to watch Snick, because Snick was going to be on.
Oh my God, Snick.
They brought back all that. Don't check it out.
I loved that show so much. And there was that whole segment of Ask Ashley. And I do an impression of Amanda Bynes all the time. And everything that happened to her made me so sad.
Amanda, please. Oh, you mean everything that happens when somebody's young and famous and
drugs and mental illness. Yeah.
That usually.
So heartbreaking. So heartbreaking. She's
a lot of things that come from that.
And better-ish.
Okay. I didn't know where this was at. I just know that She's the Man was still a great movie, and it's so bad, but it's very much enjoyable.
It's my cousin's favorite movie ever, and every time we bring it up, she's like, "No, She's the Man is the greatest movie," and I'm
yeah. They kind of don't understand how soccer even works when doing any of those scenes, but we don't need to acknowledge that at all. If you want the best sports scene ever, it's in Catwoman with Halle Berry when she's playing basketball with Benjamin Bratt. Is that a person?
Yes, Bratt. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they're playing basketball. Doesn't make sense. The kids give up the ball, and then she's like just like bouncing up against him and then doing this, and then all of these kids surround him and start cheering. First off, they'd be pissed off that you were in the way and that you were taking up the ball in the court. And it's like a flash cut scene for like 2 minutes of what doesn't even make sense. I mean, they're double dribbling. She's walking with it. She's carrying it. Inner city kids are cheering apparently. And then out of nowhere, she dunks. and that it's the best. It is the best scene ever.
And I'll audition for it.
The old Catwoman, where Sharon Stone created a makeup that was there to melt away your face, so you had to keep buying the makeup, and that was the evil woman character's plan.
Listen, the female villains had nothing. They were just hot. There was nothing going on there apart from that.
They almost had a good one in the Dark Knight trilogy.
Almost.
Yeah, but then she died because she like was driving a truck and then it bumped something and she was like, oh.
Weird.
It's because they don't really show death scenes with women in movies. And one reason why I know this is because in Dumb and Dumber, when he picks the snowball up and whips it at her face from 2 inches away, I was listening to something where they tested that scene. And she came up after getting blasted in the face with a snowball with a bloody nose. And the audience was like, no. And then they tested the scene where she just came up without a bloody nose. And it's like, what happened? And everyone's like, oh, that's funny. And like, it's just such a very large. I'm
so grateful that things are shifting because like Bridesmaid, getting to see Maya Rudolph shit herself in a dress in public, like so funny, so real. So good.
It's happening. It's happening. Yeah, they did go far in that sort of humor, but also it was like well placed in the movie. You know, I think some people are ready to criticize, like, oh, is it funny because a girl is doing fart stuff? And you're like, no, a lot of comedies do that sort of stuff in general. So maybe it is funny that she's doing that. I'm gonna have to get going soon because I have to do that Zoom show. So if people want to hop on that, go to sammyko.com and look that up or whatever. But
just so we can go watch you be hilarious.
Yeah, you could check out Ashley on Instagram. I think I put it on the other screen. You have to give me my assignment for today.
So your assignment
for the given week. I'm not going to do it tonight.
It is related to the book, but it is not like, I'm not going to tell you to like read another chapter, but I am going to tell you to every morning when you wake up, the first thing you have to do after you like pee and drink a cup of water or whatever is just free write for 3 pages. Just hand write whatever you're feeling, whatever that is, 3 pages. They don't have to be like, if you have like a giant notebook, they don't have to be like legal pages. It can be, a small notebook, but 3 pages of just writing whatever comes to your head.
Okay.
And then I would challenge you to, before you close those 3 pages, to very quickly scan back through them and see any place where you negatively talk to yourself and say,
put a little asterisk, a star, make it.
Sure.
And like work on that, really develop that into a bit.
Just at the bottom of those
get it tattooed onto myself in teacher form.
You're going to read those sentences and then affirm the opposite. So write, if you wrote, I am useless, you would go to the bottom and write, I am worthy.
Okay. I'm never going to be that mean in writing.
Okay.
I won't be that mean in writing. I know that.
Things creep in that early in the morning. You might say some truth that you feel about yourself that is horrible.
Well, they do sometimes. That's why, the origin of the podcast that I'm doing now called Avoidance Issues is that years ago, I would make myself record every morning just so I could get out of my own head. So I felt like I was talking to an audience, and I was actually nicer to myself because I was assuming people would listen to it. Now, this one I actually put out there. It's called Avoidance Issues. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, everything like that. So go follow that. But
plug.
The old ones, I probably recorded like 40 or 50 and I never released anything, but I did them as an exercise to like be okay. I would recap what happened in the previous day. Now during quarantine, that's a little different. But when I was on tour, that was more interesting. Like I was talking about what state I was in, what city, who, you know, sometimes I'm back at my apartment or someone's staying over, or I had special guests because I had stayed over by somebody else because I was on the road, you know. It was, and I realized the whole point of it was never to have it released. It was just to be okay.
Yeah.
And I'm really struggling with the being okay part.
Yeah, the being okay part's the hardest part, and also it's okay to not be okay, right? So
no, that's for everyone but me.
Huh?
That's for everyone but me. You're forgetting that. So it's okay to not be okay, except
everyone except me. Yeah. But
that's
what
actually what my
this exercise is that we meditate to sort of know our mind. And for those of us who struggle with meditation or use meditation to sort of just get quiet and not address the issues, this will show you like where your heart and where your head really go to. And it's so nice to like see patterns emerging and be like, this is a thing. This is something that maybe I should look at a little deeper. Like for me, I am so mean to myself sometimes. So mean about like little things like like productivity or not getting enough self-care. I'll go on the extremes, right? I'll be like, I didn't do enough today, or I didn't do enough for myself today. And like, I'll beat myself up evenly about both of those things.
So what you're saying is there's no way to ever make yourself happy, so why try? And there's no such thing as balance, and I should just binge chug the rest of this and just do one long burp instead of actually performing my...
As long as it comes out of your mouth and not the other end, we won't get COVID.
Yeah, that's how COVID works. That's really funny. No, I mean, what you're saying is very astute. And I even had a little TV piece on WGN where my advice was, it's not about being as productive as possible. It's about getting through this. And yet, where am I still going, yeah, but I have to compete still.
Right.
I found the competition has ramped itself up almost more than what I've seen before.
Yeah, I definitely feel like this has made us all so uncomfortable, and all of us have gone from like all of us are stepped up into survival mode, and that survival mode looks a lot of different ways. Like we're trying to preserve things that can't be preserved. Like we're trying to hang on to the past, and like it's gone. Like that's done. That world pre-COVID is never coming back. Whatever that looked like, it'll always look different. But that is not coming back. So whatever is going to go forward, we need to like sort of mourn and release and grieve what we're doing.
That's what I've been doing a lot though. For the longest time, 10 plus years, live performances in front of audiences, and now I can't at all. So where are we left, you know, when...
And I do think they'll come back, you know, I think especially at the end of this, people are going to crave that experience in ways that we've never, like I love going to comedy shows, that's who I am, but I do feel like I can't wait to go to a comedy show and to like sit in a room full of people and feel laughter. That's not just me laughing alone at something my dog did, like me feeling like laughter in a room that's not through a speaker. Like, you know, like hearing it behind you, feeling it.
I'm anxious about it. I'm anxious about getting around people. I think the entire time while I'm there, I would just think about how like, who's near me or who's laughing or what spittle is coming out. Like laugh less and then less will come out of your... Like now it's fine because it's hitting your camera.
One of my dear friends who has a actor podcast called One Broke Actress, she posted something hilarious the other day. She was like, you guys, I am so embarrassed by how gross I was before COVID. I used to go to the movie theater and touch the armrest and then use that hand to pick up popcorn and put it in my mouth. And I was like, ah!
I would lay on flights, you know, across the seats if I had that. I would.
Dude,
but
everything on airplanes. I'm not.
By the way,
person.
People need to wash their hands more in general, and the thing they need to wash their hands the most is at the bar. Money is so dirty. The drinks are dirty. Money's never been washed. Okay, just so you know. Once it comes out, nobody washes their money on purpose. So, like, I don't know. Anyway, I'm a pre-wash peer, so I actually wash my hands before I pee because why am I taking bar hands and then? So that's kind of been my whole thing that I try to explain to guys, and I'm like, why'd you wash your hands after? And by the way, as a guy, you don't actually have to touch yourself to pee. You don't have to. You can just open it up and go. So that is a little thing in case people didn't know that, in case you didn't need to know. Yeah, we don't have to do it. We don't got to touch anything. I could just undo the belt and just go, and for real. Like, and then I try not to touch any handles. I'll use my foot at the door. So there's a great way in order to there's a great way to do that. So yeah, guys, stop touching your junk or yourself with dirty bar hands. That's my advice.
Worker who Lysols their money every morning.
Now, every morning though, because that's the same money.
Probably now, but not before. Like, yeah, if it's just sitting in your wallet, what are you doing?
Yeah, I also I believe that might be somebody who then likes to roll around in the money in a kind of Scrooge McDuck sort of way, diving headfirst into golden bullion and exploding his skull. They're doing a reboot of it.
And Darkwing Duck was my favorite.
They're doing a reboot of one of those two things. So no, they are. I know that because Ben Schwartz is going to be Huey, Dewey, and Louie or something like that because he gets all the voice things now. He's very funny. Well, thank you so much. I will have to write into these pages, and if anyone on here doesn't already follow Ashley, definitely follow her work. Look for her episode of Glow or The Bold Type or 911 or Grey's Anatomy, but also she does classes. So if you want to take one and subtly drop dong behind somebody taking the don't drop the D.
Accidentally
don't drop that dun.
Have anybody's penis come through my screen while I'm teaching yoga, you guys.
Okay, first off, there are many French bulldogs that probably hop in front of the screen all the time.
There's lots of puppies and kittens, and that makes me happy.
So I know. Well, should they already be allowed in regular yoga classes is the real question.
What I'm appreciative of is, like, even myself, I never had a home practice because I thought, like, I didn't have the right space. And people always say, like, oh, my pet's in the way, oh, my kid's in the way. And it's like, here we are doing it.
Yeah.
It's happening.
I mean, for me, it really held me accountable to go to a class. So going to a Zoom class is way more accountable than doing it through a video. Yoga videos don't work for me.
Yeah.
Huh?
And you just have to push a button, and then you have someone there holding you accountable who can see your name and say your name and give you a cue.
That's part of it as well. I mean, that's why I always tried harder. And even though in yoga, it's not about if you can keep up with everybody else, I still wanted to. So I still wanted to do that or be an example or not be an embarrassing example.
Yoga too.
Yeah. I want to show off. Remember showing off? I don't even have, I have sweatpants on right now. I'm not even trying.
I don't have sweatpants on.
Yeah, but that's because aren't you ready? Oh, the old school 3-stripe. Does it flare out at the bottom?
No, they're like actual sweatshirt material. They're sweatpants. They're cuffed at the bottom.
Do you remember the ones that used to flare out big?
Yes.
At the bottom? Do you still have them or did you get rid of them?
Oh, I wish.
Ah, okay. It's probably come back. All the fashions come back cyclical. Yeah. But thank you so much. I have somebody at the bottom saying they love Adam Grabowski merch. Of course, there's Adam Grabowski merch. You can go to my website and buy an It's Fine, I'm Fine t-shirt. Which I got to send you. You got to tell me what size you are and send an address. Small or extra small?
Are they men's?
Yeah, kind of unisex.
Extra small. Extra
small. That is a child's large. That's what it is. Okay, yeah. So you probably get discounts at the store when you shop. So that's what. Yeah, if you shop in the little boy section.
All my NFL gear were like the little boys' larges.
Yup. Why am
$40.
You think I'm gonna buy an adult basketball jersey that costs twice as much when I can get the kid version of Steve Nash? That's like it.
These ones are cooler.
I have ones that fit as t-shirts now. Tony Kukoc and Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan that fit as t-shirts. Although as an adult it is weird to wear another person's name on your back. I still find that to be a bit odd. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Guys, I don't have Ashley Platz gear.
Well, no, they got to take a class.
And then you'll be wearing in your muscles and in your brain some Ashley Platz gear.
Yeah. She's going to make you be okay with yourself, even though you don't want to.
Yes.
So,
I'm going to force you.
Bye, Jersey girl.
Bye. Thank you.
And now. And I will end this one, but I think you could still hear me